Hey everybody, and welcome, and check it out. Poltergeist officially on 4K. I thought I'd do a little review and also introduce a new concept called Level Up. It'll be mostly for games and movies that are either going, as you can see, to my PS5, my Series X, or, in this case, going from DVD and Blu-ray to 4K. And I gotta say, this has been pretty good. Now the good thing is, I actually have three separate versions of the movie to review. The original 4K copy, 1080p edition for Blu-ray, and the two newly remastered versions. There's a Blu-ray and a D in the 4K in here, which is pretty good. And as you can see, we have the 4K in. This copy, by the way, on the Blu-ray side has both all the special features here, but also a couple of little extras. Now, does the 4K do anything for this movie? Well, this is the scene I use predominantly to test everything out, and there's a reason for that. This was a scene that had everything: dialogue, visual effects, shots, everything. It was the best point to test, and it's also one of the best sequences in the movie. Not only does pretty much everything just happen, but it gets pretty good. You can't deny it. And as you can see, looks pretty damn good too. I can officially say, without sounding like a complete moron, this is definitely the best version. So what does the 4K have that this original Blu-ray doesn't? Well, first of all, I'm going to say it right now. If this is the only version you can get, you're still doing pretty damn good. I actually have two of these versions, and I even popped them both in just to make sure. We have the normal version you can get, and also the one with the cool booklet, which has exclusive content on the inside. And I'll be referring to this in a little bit to finish off the video. But right now, let's get into it. Alright, first off, let's realize a few things here. For one, the 4K is the closest we're going to get to the original film negative. That's pretty much a guarantee. So for Halloween, that's all good. Now, I've reviewed the movie before, so you can go and watch that if you want to see my thoughts on it. But let's be fair, this is really good. First of all, the 4K advantages make certain little details pop out more than I ever thought they would. I've seen things now that I can't even imagine. And by the way, another reason I chose this sequence is just all of the environmental stuff. And it really showed off what the filmmakers in this time period had to do to make a good film. To give you a hint, it's just rained. In fact, when they flee, the rain will be coming. By the way, spoilers in case you haven't seen the movie. I kind of doubt that. It's a really good one. But it gives you some idea. So as you can see, even on this recording, there's plenty of water on the ground and stuff. There will be certain things that will be dripping and stuff. And it's just great. Even on the cars, you can actually see the beads of water on the windows and stuff. And with the 4K copy and also high dynamic range, they really pop, in my opinion. The colors pop, the lighting, the diffusion between the water and stuff really pops. And it just works. The other thing that surprises me is just how good the overall color palette is. In fact, despite what I would say about the original Blu-ray, the film doesn't feel, I would say, oversaturated in brightness. That's the only real downside I have to the original Blu-ray, is that, it was made before we went to this kind of a color saturation that was originally what you would see in theaters, which is the great thing about high dynamic range. And it's too bright sometimes. Yes, you can see a lot more, but it's almost overpowering. And a couple of the lighting effects, it's hard to tell what's going on sometimes. That's a problem. I don't care who you are. You need good lighting effects in order to pull off an effective film. And so much of this film was done live and in camera, along with some really incredible visual effects that you're like going, my God, why did they do this? So, yeah, in this case, and I've seen pretty much the whole movie, yes, the 4K and the high dynamic range make a total difference. I've even noticed, believe it or not, compared to the original, that even the frame rate movement seems more fluid and effective. And just in case you're wondering, I'm using the same setup for all three movies. 58-inch 4K TV with 60 frames, high dynamic range, and high dynamic range 10. A Blu-ray player, which by the way is cool because it has two HDMI outputs, one for video and one for audio, and my sound system, which you can't see, is designed to take high dynamic range, HDMI inputs for the audio. So the TV and the system, the 5.1 system, which by the way also does Dolby Atmos and DTS HD mastery, is getting a clean signal with no other little things. So yeah, I can hear and see the difference. The other thing is that although, to be fair, high def picture and high def sound, even with this one having Dolby True HD, this one, because it's a more updated remastered audio, does sound better. I would say 60% of the soundtrack is the same on the 5.1 tracks, but that 40%, there's little nuances even down to the bass track. So it's just great. I mean, blew me away. I also noticed, because of the high dynamic range, when the film ends at the end credits, as the credits start to roll up, there's this actual color variant to the credits until it completely goes black. You don't have that at the beginning, but you do have it at the end. And I realized it's a color bleed that was part of the film. The problem is that on all the other versions until 4K, you can't see it. I'm sorry. That's a real pain in the butt. This is something I did see before with, believe it or not, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Believe it or not, certain colors can either not pop up or be visible, or you're just not going to see them because you don't have that advantage of high dynamic range unless you set your settings to an insane level. And in the case of Ghostbusters, it was the terror dog about to attack somebody in this shadow. The only clues that was there was the sounds, and unless you saw it in theaters or you have a good enough system like I do for 4K, you won't notice the two little glowing red eyes. Otherwise, I didn't see them. I didn't see them on my Blu-ray edition, a DVD edition, or the streaming 4K edition I have. So clearly, there is an advantage for 4K. And it makes all the colors pop. Just to give you a hint, when we get to a scene where they literally get thrown and stuff, and the house is so bright, everything is like this bright yellow color on everything. It saturated everything in the scene. It was so cool until, it sends this wave forward, which sends everybody about a foot back and stuff. It's a great scene to check all of this from both audio and video. It really works great on that one. And it makes the film so much better than I would have thought it was. This upgrade is definitely, in all fairness, worth it. You should have an opportunity to see this movie. And I'm not going to deny that. It's a great movie. And holy crap, I wasn't expecting it to be this good, but it is. This 4K is definitely one of the ones where it's worth it. The frame rate is stable to what the original 24 frames are. It has the exact color variants. I haven't seen stuff this good except for when I saw it once in theaters. And the soundtrack is the cleanest and most impressive. It's not overbearing. The parts where they need it to be loud, it's loud. Otherwise, you have nice, very crystal clear audio. There's in fact in fact I should just let it play so I can point it out here. Hold on. One second. Check that out. Yeah, right about here, as the coffin is coming out of the ground and they're stuck there, he's screaming, "Get out," and she's like screaming, "How?" Now, to be fair, I can hear her say "how" just barely over all of this other stuff going on these versions and on the 4K. On the 4K, it's actually easier. But if you're trying to hear all that stuff on DVD, you're not going to hear it. So there's that. All right. Before we close out, I do want to show off that they do actually talk about some things. So here's the first one. Check it out. If you can read it, more power to you. Dang it. film facts, which literally you can just pause and it talks about the stuff that happened on the film, including, the rated R and the corpses, which is not a joke. And just in case you think I'm joking, here's the other fact about, of course, the legendary curse of this film. And check this out. So many other movies have and TV shows have even spoofed Poltergeist. I can attest to this. I've seen everything from The Simpsons to Family Guy, spoof this, and also a few other things too. And I'm not kidding. This original movie is worth having in your copy. I mean, having in your library, and also definitely for having Halloween and upgrading to good old 4K. Now, please remember the recording method is going to mess up some of the frame rate for this movie as I show it to you, so I do want to stress that. But I've already watched this in 4K, and I almost never want to put it Blu-ray in unless it's for the special features ever again. That's how good it is. The film itself still manages to keep everything going on. Just to give you a hint, I saw details for the first time I didn't know that were there too. And also because of the better soundtrack and the visuals, I really felt the better emotions. Just like in this scene. Eventually they get into the car and stuff, and you can literally feel the tension the family has got. This is good because it works for the movie. And it's almost like seeing it for the first time and stuff. And even when they finally get out of Cuesta Verde, you can literally hear Carol Ann, Heather O'Rourke, just crying in this, murmuring like, no more, no more, no more. And you just realize how good they made it to make this family look like they have been beaten down by this crap. There's not many films nowadays that can do that at all. This is one of the things I think about that makes some of these older movies really work. And when you get it in modern films, it's all the better. All the more reason to enjoy them. So, it's pretty good. I'm going to give this Blu-ray a seal of approval. Definitely for the Blu-rays and definitely for the 4K. This is one of the ones I would highly recommend. Yes, it still shows its age. Remember, this is an 82 film, so there are some things they couldn't do really to refit it, in my opinion. But you know what? It works very well. I highly recommend this movie. And for your Halloween and one of the first days of 13 Days of Halloween, please enjoy. Like and subscribe, and happy Halloween.